All right, ready to ditch the 9 to 5 grind. Let's dive deep into the 4-hour work week. And let me tell you, Timothy Ferriss, he doesn't mess around. He really makes you rethink like everything about work.
Yeah, it's not your typical climb the ladder kind of book. More like, what if work wasn't a chore? What if it was the key to actually living your dream life right now?
So you're saying this new rich idea, it's not about waiting till retirement to finally enjoy life. It's about changing the game entirely.
Exactly. Ferriss says the real new rich, it's not about mansions or anything. It's about freedom. Choosing how you spend your time, what you spend your energy on, really living on your own terms. No more putting off happiness for someday.
Now, that's something I can get behind, but it's not just like wishful thinking, is it? Ferriss actually gives you a way to make it real.
Oh yeah, he lays out real strategies, real stories. Like, remember that thing with the Princeton students?
You mean that impossible versus unrealistic challenge? Tell me more about that. That's fascinating.
Okay, so they told one group of students to do something impossible. And they basically froze. Their minds just like hit a wall. But the students who were told to do something unrealistic, they were the ones who figured it out. They actually succeeded. They were more creative, more open to new solutions because they weren't stuck in that box of realistic.
Wow, that's wild. Really shows how much those assumptions can hold us back. So how do we break free? Ferriss talks about selective ignorance searching.
Right. It's like these days, it's not just about what you learn, it's what you choose to ignore. Being picky with your attention. He even suggests this media fast. No news, no social media, just quiet for a whole week.
A whole week. I've thought about doing a digital detox, but that's serious commitment. Have you ever actually done it?
I have, and honestly,
Hmm.
it's amazing. It's like all that noise just fades away and you can finally hear yourself think. You focus on what really matters.
Like hitting the reset button. So how does that play into this whole 4-hour work week thing?
It's all about time. When you get rid of the distractions, you actually free up time and mental energy to focus on what matters. To design a life where work is there to serve you, not the other way around. And speaking of work, Ferriss really digs into that 80-20 principle.
Ah, right. Refresh my memory on that one. How's it go again?
Basically, 80% of your results come from just 20% of your effort.
Yeah.
And you could apply that to everything. Find those key customers, those essential tasks, you get the idea.
Work smarter, not harder. Right. I like it. But Ferriss, he takes it up a notch, doesn't he? Outsourcing, and not just the typical stuff. He even outsourced worrying.
He makes you rethink what you think you have to do yourself.
Yeah.
He's like, if someone else can do it, why not? Frees up your mind for the big stuff.
He definitely pushes those boundaries.
Yeah, he really flips the script on that. Like, what if you could ditch the stuff that just drains you, even the things you think you should be doing? It's about using your time in a way that actually matters.
Totally. But he doesn't just say quit your job, does he? He has that whole deal system, right?
Right, the deal framework. It's basically definition, elimination, automation, then liberation. It's not about just like running away from your job. It's about building something better.
Break that down for me. What does each step actually look like?
So first, definition. You got to figure out what you actually want. Not just vague dreams, but specifics. What's your ideal day? How much money do you need? Where do you want to live? You need that roadmap.
So get clear on your vision. I like it. Then what?
Okay, then comes elimination. And I mean ruthlessly cutting out the stuff that just eats your time and gets you nowhere. Learning to say no to the things that don't fit into that vision you just defined.
I can see how that would be huge, especially these days when everyone wants a piece of you.
Exactly. So you
Go
clear
for
out
it.
all that clutter, then you hit automation. Finding ways to make the stuff you do need to do happen as smoothly as possible, like automatic bill pay, scheduling apps, things like that.
Technology working for you? Nice.
Yeah.
But liberation, that's the good part, right? That's where the 4-hour week actually starts to feel real.
Exactly. That's where you get to work when you want, where you want, on stuff you actually care about. Ferriss talks about remote work, mini retirements, even creating your own dream job from scratch.
Okay, now we're talking. I bet he's got some wild stories about actually putting this into practice.
Oh, for sure. Like, did you know he was a national kickboxing champion?
Wait, what? Kickboxing? I totally missed that part.
It's a great story. He kind of found some loopholes in the rules, used it to his advantage. That's totally his style, though. Bending the rules, finding creative solutions.
Love it. Thinking outside the box. And speaking of creating, he talks about building a muse, right? Like a business that basically runs itself.
Yeah, it's like he says, define your dream life, then reverse engineer your work to support it. So you're not trading hours for dollars. You're building something that generates income even when you're not working.
Sounds like the dream. But how do you even start with something like that?
And he breaks it down step by step. Finding a niche, solving a problem, automating the process.
So you can be off exploring the world or working on your passion project while your business hums along. He even says you can become like a recognized expert in your field in just a month. That's a bold claim.
It is, but he lays out this whole plan. Finding your people, building your platform online, getting your name out there.
And of course, no conversation about the 4-hour work week would be complete without talking about outsourcing, right? He is all about delegating, even stuff you wouldn't normally think of.
Totally. He even tells you how to find and work with virtual assistants, shares his own experiences, outsourcing all kinds of stuff, from research to, remember, managing his anxieties.
Outsourcing anxiety, that's a new one. Not sure I'm ready for that. But I can see how using outsourcing strategically could be a game changer. But isn't it risky, giving up that much control?
Oh, he talks about that. He knows there are risks, like communication issues, making sure your information is secure, things like that. He says you got to be clear about what you want, set those expectations, and use technology to keep things running smoothly.
So it's about being smart about it, not just handing over the reins blindly. The 4-hour work week, it's packed with so much good stuff, it's almost overwhelming.
Before we jump ahead, what would you say are the biggest takeaways for someone just starting to explore these ideas?
I'd say, remember, it's a process. Don't try to change everything overnight. Start small, experiment, figure out what works for you.
That first step's always the hardest, right?
Huh.
But then you start building momentum.
Exactly. And remember, it's not about literally working 4 hours a week. It's about having the freedom to choose, to build a life around what you value, whether that's travel, passion projects, or just having more control over your time.
Being the architect of your own life. Now,
Yeah.
you've spent a lot of time with this book. What's the part that really stuck with you?
For me, the biggest thing I took away from it is that idea, like, figure out your dream life first, then let that guide your work. It's so different from how we usually think. Like work, 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 and then someday maybe you'll have time to actually live. It's like flipping the whole thing on its head. Work becomes the tool, not the whole point. Like he says, life is too short to be small, right? Ferriss, he's all about those big dreams.
Totally. He says, forget realistic goals. Go for what really lights you up, even if it seems impossible.
Because if you're passionate about it, those obstacles, they kind of become part of the adventure.
Exactly. And it's not just about money or success. It's about experiences, finding your thing, what makes you tick.
Defining success on your own terms. So how do we take those big dreams and make them real? What's the next step?
He has this thing called the Dreamline. It's like a vision board, but more action-oriented.
I love a good vision board. So how is this one different?
It's not just about picturing it. It's about breaking it down. Travel plans, hobbies, relationships, everything. Then you turn those dreams into goals, then into plans.
And that's what makes this book so cool. It's not just like think positive stuff. It's real strategies.
He gives you the tools, the resources, everything you need to actually go for it.
That's what I'm talking about. Well, we've covered a lot of ground today. Any last thoughts before we wrap up?
I'd say if you're listening to this, take a minute. Picture your ideal day. What are you doing? Where are you? Who's with you?
And even better, what's one thing, even if it seems impossible right now, that you can do today to make it a little bit closer?
That's the question, isn't it?
It is, because the 4-hour work week, it's more than a book. It's a reminder that we have a choice. We can create the life we want on our own terms.
Oh, your own story.
Exactly. Thanks for diving deep with us today. We'll catch you on the next episode.